You ready for chapter 18 of The Nature of Forces by Genevieve Gravel? Let's go! Shrieks of terror and screams of pain ring in the first year. Sans moon. The night Mama died, I thought I would never sleep. Yet sleep found me, and in my dreams I found the survivors of the storm left scared, unsure, and stranded. Alexandria's countryside is blanketed with ash. Farms decimated. All the cattle are gone. All the crops are submerged in the river flow. Overnight, the dark mountain had erupted with a plume of sulfur that entered the atmosphere. Hot molten lava continued to pour freely down the mountainside, and it's filling the deepest with it the trees that are as old as Father Time himself, and only death and destruction are left in his wake. A few survivors crossed the once grassy green field, beaten, bruised, tired, and defeated, and no one wears a smile under their makeshift masks to shield their fragile lungs from the toxic air. They climb stone stairs slowly and filled with somber despair and utter confusion. Everything they've known until this night, everything they thought, every action and every belief had been proven false. This night will forever change the fabric of society, a society I knew nothing of. Other survivors congregated Alexandria towards the dark mountain, and the stone structures, they still stood, and they continued to illuminate with the remaining power. At the bar, the wounded are directed to a makeshift triage in the shell of the burned-out library. Ramon stands on the stage that's usually reserved for performers only. His shirt is torn and muddy. His chiseled chest is exposed from beneath the filth. Ramon takes a deep breath. This cannot be happening. He shakes his head as if to shake the thought away. Fighting back tears, he looks among the filled bar. Panic has broken out, and there's noise everywhere. People are screaming and crying, but not a word can be heard. It's all white noise reverberating in Roman's ears. Ramon turns his piercing steel gaze to his wife for strength. She is tattered and torn, standing in the corner with his newborn infant in her arms. Her curvy body shows too much skin under the ripped, once red and now brown gown. An oversized ruby and black onyx necklace gleams out of place, such beauty in the face of disaster. She herself and the little one in her arms are safe, unharmed. And one man recounts, just like that, the water rose to my chest, and my little boy clung to my neck as I tried to get away, and we were fighting to survive. Please, my son is missing, cried out another woman. We're all going to die. How are we going to survive this night? It's a river of death. Why? Why? Has anyone seen my wife? And all the voices began to mush together, and Roman has no idea who's talking. And they all talk and scream and cry over each other. Amongst the smoldering ash and smoke, a sea of reddened eyes looked out, swollen from tears and widened with fear. Missing jewels and torn clothes, muddy hair, and tears streaked the faces that fill the bar with a chaotic desperation and a distant stench of death. Two teens, they sit motionless, propping themselves against the moss-covered wall and in a silent stare. With broken bones and shattered hearts, children cry and mothers weep, and small groups of people with wooden torches scream out in worry and confusion. Please don't talk over each other. We'll find a solution, Ramon called out to the frantic crowd. Inside, Ramon was filled with relief. His amazing wife had kept her wits about her. She could protect their infant son, Ramon Jr. They had lived in a new home made of stone on high ground, and it remained intact, lest its shutters and windows, and still with power. Many survivors would take refuge in their home in the aftermath, but for now, he could not take his eyes off her. As she looks back, holding their infant son, and she, only in the crowd, who remained calm. She held her son to her breast as the townspeople continued in chaotic fashion, Ramon trying his best to remain calm and gain order. "We're all doomed!" one man screamed with a crazed look in his eye. Blood splattered from the gaps left by his missing teeth, and his eyes sunk into his wrinkled face, and the man pulled at his hair, and as he screamed to no person at all. "Why so much death? Such destruction?" a stout young woman cried, her voice softly as she went unheard. Ramon's wife was the only close enough to hear. She had no answer, no words of comfort to give. "How many people are missing?" another woman squawked into the indistinct chatter of survivors. "It's complete pandemonium. People came from the woodwork, crying over each other until their voices bled together into white noise, and Ramon had to close his eyes to gain focus, and he heard, 'I saw people run for the dark mountain before the lava flow. They didn't make it, not one. There's just no way.' He has no way of knowing who was saying what. 'I took to the treetop. I saw many people drowned. I don't think there are any survivors,' someone else from somewhere else cried." Ramon opened his eyes to the dark room filled with tear-streaked faces. "Only together will we survive," Ramon called out, hoping anyone could hear. "People, please, we must work together. We cannot let our differences pull us apart. Everyone's thoughts have validity, and we can all be heard if we just take order. Please," he pleads with the crowd. "Please." A young, strong man, whose blood-drenched hair was falling into his face and sticking to his bare chest, and his muscles glistened with sweat as he puffed his chest to demand, "It's just as well we fend for ourselves or look for some place that we can survive." "The pigs, the cows, the chickens are gone, just gone," the farmer's daughter cried into her hands. Ramon has to take control of the situation before it gets any more out of control. "Remember, together we are mighty and strong, and apart we are helpless and weak. We need now more than ever before in history. We must stand together, work together, and help one another. I propose we set apart a faction of the top butchers to hunt as a team as we go further into the wood for the hunt for food and warm pelts." And people, they began to quiet down. And they began to listen to him. Ramon had never been a leader before, and no one appointed him. But somehow, this room of crazed-filled, chaotic people started listening to him. "We must first get the dam online to filter the water, assess the damage, and restore power. Now, who can help?" "It took 2,000 people to maintain the dam. Where will we get the manpower?" someone asked. "Find as many trained as you can and go as quickly as possible. Send someone back with assessments and we will send what provisions we can. Time is of the essence," Ramon responded. "Together we will survive," a distraught mother whispered softly, and the man next to her repeated it loudly, and so forth until the chant boomed from the stone building. "I can't read." Several people leave to work on the dam. They will not return. They will live in camps and eventually build small cabins and grow deeper into the mountainside. In the weeks of the aftermath, they account for 18,000 missing and over 1 million dead. The waters receded. What was left of the once great metropolis of abundance and luxury was no more than acres of debris. They still work to clean, work to bury the dead, the wounded, and to care for the children left orphaned. They share resources and innovate ways to reuse and recycle what little was spared. The people have no idea of the new threat, the bloodthirsty threat that they will soon find moving up the mountainside closer to the power station and the stone buildings that were spared, some by only a few feet from the rich lava flow. The people of Alexandria are rebuilding their lives close to the vampire's lair. In Paolo's lair of vampires, the smell of fresh blood fills the air with a sweet stench that is driving these creatures of the night wild with desire. One by one, townspeople began to disappear. The people believe they have gone rogue or passed on in the search for their loved ones. They continued pressing through together, pulling bodies from the water, fishing through the devastation that has redefined their entire existence. The Shah, the one who performed the burial ritual and lights the fire to transport the soul, has taken on far too many. The death is weighing deeply on his shoulders of corpses each day in mass graves. The stench scars his nose, the grief scars his soul. He communes with the spirits of the dead, and they tell him stories of the horrific deaths, and they ask him to say their goodbyes. Despair fills his heart, and he cannot go on. So the Shah takes his own life. The stench of burning bodies lofts over the mountain tops as mass graves filled with bodies by the thousands are set ablaze each day, while other survivors continue to pull anything and anyone they can from the rubble and debris. They look like fishermen aligned by the river shore. What they fish for haunts me. They scavenge for resources to build shelters for those left with none, and they scavenge for food, and they scavenge for life, although there's little to be found. Many other survivors build a dam to encourage the waters. Those trained in the arts and scientists tend to the wounded and disposing of the dead. Debris left is up to 4 meters thick in the town, allowing no persons to enter that area and reclaim their dead. The trees begin to die, and the few surviving creatures begin to flee. They begin to overrun the villages and homes, bringing with them viruses and plagues, and the vast metropolis of over 2 million in a fight for survival decreased by half in the first decade. However, some clouds break, allowing precious light to shine. Some undergrowth springs forth new signs of life and pops of color amongst the darkened, decaying wood. Strong witches and spirits can hold this light for a short time, and they do, but as sleep comes, so does the dreaded clouds of sulfur and ash. So thanks for joining me for Chapter 18 of The Nature of Forces by Genevieve Gravel. I'll be back shortly to continue on with Chapter 19. Of course, if you can't wait, you can always pick up your own copy on Amazon. I will put a link in the description below. Okay, I love you. Bye.